kidding me? Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score.
Field down the near side, man open, touchdown.
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown.
He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown. He's in.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one as we dive into deep. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Neal after a brief hiatus. Welcome y'all back. We got a good one for you tonight. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'll speak at least for myself. I don't know if anyone's got a better free agent target list than what you're gonna see tonight. Especially if you combine what me and Neal put together. I don't think you're gonna find a better one because there's no unrealistic stuff. Listen. Do me and Neal want Patrick Surtain? 110%. Did Patrick Surtain make our list? No, because this team is not going to give up the assets and not going to pay what they got to pay when they're already paying Ramsey and they're trying to move off another high-priced guy in Xavier Howard. That's one. Chase Young. I've seen so many people on Twitter or on apps talk about Chase Young. We're not getting Chase Young. You got to give up assets and then you got to pay that man. Not happening, okay? So I only have one unrealistic person on my list, and even Neal said, well, it might not be so unrealistic now, but we'll get into all that. Neal, we haven't talked, the people haven't heard from you now since the Dolphins went 5-1 for the first time since 2002 all the way to the loss this past weekend. How are you feeling over the last 2 weeks? It's been an up and down ride, Neal. I was trying to warn people, Neal, while you were out and about doing your thing. I was trying to tell people, hey, fans are hyping this game up more than even the team is. Look at Connor could go if they needed to, but they're saying, nah, sit. X could go if he needed to, but they're saying, nah, sit. Get ready for that Chiefs game that's coming up right now because even this team sees the big picture. How are you feeling after a loss that I viewed as more of a measuring stick more than a must-win, like a playoff seeding implication game that could be with the Chiefs? Where are you sitting after that loss and then after the win? Because we were 5-1, we didn't have a chance. People didn't have a chance to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back, man. I will say this: I think I'm with you. Look, it's never fun to lose. I don't enjoy this team losing. I didn't think they would be 17-0 either. As much as I'd love that, it's a non-conference loss to a team that was in the Super Bowl last year that received some of the most home cooking I've ever seen in my entire life of watching football with a fairly fully healthy roster against us without 5 of our best 10 players. And I think the Dolphins made it a dogfight until the end. And, I don't really care what the scoreboard showed. I saw a team that was resilient, fought back. And, I even think something such as, Xavier Howard being in that game would have slowed down A.J. Brown. So honestly, man, I'm feeling good still because what I see is an injury report with a lot of people aiming to get back. If you would have told me that there's a realistic chance that Jalen Ramsey could play, if not this week, the following week, when we heard the awful news about his injury, I would have been like, there's no chance. His alien-like recovery has me excited. We dodged a bullet with Tyreek Hill news yesterday. I was panicking, man. I was taking extra hits off my inhaler because I was getting nervous that we might not see him out there. Armstead's
inhaler.
Connor Williams. Everybody's going to be coming back, and this team is going to 100% be healthy, man. Like, we have not seen the fully healthy Miami Dolphins. We haven't seen that yet this year. And we're 5-2, first place in the East. And, I'm really excited. And I didn't even mention Devon Achane. And, Raheem Mostert's doing what I thought he would do, kind of not the production, but here he is midway through the season battling another ankle injury. I always thought that Raheem Mostert was a good number 2 runner in this offense. I can't wait to see Devon Achane come back and build off of what he was doing. He's most people's running back representative of the midseason rookie of the year, right? Like he's the guy over Bijan, over Jahmyr Gibbs. So man, I feel really good about this team. And I think, we get right back on track this week against the Patriots team. I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to be a blowout. We'll get to that later. But I feel that we're going to be having at least a victory Monday again, and then we're going to be talking reason next week about probably you want to talk about a monumental game. This Chiefs game could be that monumental game. If you want to make one regular season game, the measuring stick, the end all be all where, fans are reacting and overreacting either way. I think it's this Chiefs game. So, let's get healthy. We're better with Jalen Ramsey. We're better with these guys. So I'm still convinced that this team, when fully healthy, is one of the best teams in football. And I think that's what we're going to see. And one thing I'll say on the good front is I think this defense is starting to come alive and creating turnovers, putting pressure.
Remind everyone what week it is, Neal, and remind everyone what I told everyone to wait till. What week are we in?
Week 8.
What did I tell everyone? Wait till week 8.
Way through the season,
That's
right?
literally what I said. You can see it. And now it's going to get even better, Neal, based off what you just said. I mean, Ramsey coming back. Needham's going to be back. All right. X is going to be back for the Chiefs. I don't know if he plays this weekend. I think if Ramsey plays this weekend, that gives you the ability to maybe put him. Fangio said the idea is, obviously we all knew it, when Ramsey and X are healthy, Coe's in the slot where he's perfectly fit, because I said it after the Diggs game. I had a little bit more hope because he's going up a different type of body receiver in A.J. Brown, and we got the same results. And I'll say it again. I don't know if Kohu is ready in this development, in his development and growth stage. He's not ready for the elite guys on the boundary. He's ready for the elite guys in the slot. He can take the elite guys in the slot, but he's not ready for the boundary yet.
Look where he's getting tested. Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown, man.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about horrible assignments to learn on the job. Like, those are two of the best 6-7 receivers in football.
He's just not there yet. You can't expect him to be there yet in this development on the boundary, because he's a natural slot guy for us, right? So listen,
good. But hey, Kohu still got his hands on that ball that knocked the ball into Jerome Baker's hand for a touchdown.
Yeah,
I think the thing I love about Kohu is even when playing out of position, he still makes his presence known. I think that is an awesome quality to have in a young player.
Yeah. Robert Fuller, you did see Claypool. Claypool was on the field this past weekend.
Snaps.
Multiple times. Yeah. It's a couple snaps. Yeah, just like he had more snaps than Ogbah. Ogbah only had like 3 snaps. And we're gonna talk about Ogbah in a little bit here after this. I think let's get right into should we get right into the free agency stuff? I think.
Yeah, get into meat and potatoes. It's free agency's on the mind, right?
Yeah. So let's get in. Let's get into this right now. So these are our lists of the top trade. We each named 10 guys. So you got 20 names. I don't think we really have anyone that's the same. So you got legitimately 20 different names here.
That's crazy. Between
all of us, which is great. We'll go one by one. We'll go one you, one me. We'll flip. So let's start with you. You got, surprise, surprise, we're trading for a Colts running back, but not the Colts running back many might have thought or expected.
Right.
Let me know.
Yeah,
Let me know.
For me, because I'm a big believer, you said this, like Pat Surtain, sure, I'd love to have this guy on our team, but I'm not at where we are in our roster development. The FD picks model only works to a certain extent, right? You've already littered this roster, and I don't mean this in a bad way, with expensive, great football talent. You need your draft picks to supplement that, right? Like that's why it's on. And there's a guy we'll talk about that I think could be a curveball to that. But like the way I approach this is I try to find extreme values with late draft picks to add some of these type of players to this draft. And then, so Zach Moss for me is a guy who does a lot of the things that Jeffrey Wilson probably would do for us, but better. He's a guy who can run between the tackles. He runs with some power. He's great at kind of churning some yards after contact. They did get Jonathan Taylor back. Maybe the Colts are a team. Now, I also think, I'll critique myself here. I think it's a pipe dream sometimes for these division rivals who are still in the hunt to trade with you, right? So, I was looking more of the player fit with a Zach Moss, thinking, a 4th or 5th round pick maximum for a player of his caliber. With Mostert being down and Etienne coming back, I think I heard you say this on one of your shows this week, man. We're really getting thin at running back, so it wouldn't be bad to have another proven option.
Yeah, and I liked him even coming out of Utah, man. That guy used to break tackles at Utah like it was no one's business, man. I just like his style of run. And look at you remember Jonathan Taylor's first game back? I know fantasy owners do, when Zach Moss was the one who went off on his first game back, right? He's had some good games back there. I don't hate it. But I clearly here I stuck to my needs. I stuck to interior offensive line, interior defensive line, and interior linebacker. And I think I only have one unrealistic trade here, and we'll get to that in a bit. But for me, I'm going to start off here with Cody Whitehair. I don't think he's a name that's being talked about enough. They're losing. They might go out and get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison, so they're going to be rebooting the whole thing. So they don't really care about protecting Justin Fields. Okay. I mean, hell, they started Tyler Badgett, they won a game. So, I mean, and that probably didn't go as planned. To be quite honest, they thought they were going to lose that game. I love Cody Whitehair. You know what I mean? You're talking about a player right now. He can play left guard, center, and right guard. He can play all 3 interior spots. 31 years old, 6'3", 316, gets the job done. I think, if you had a guy like that, listen, is he the biggest, needle shifter in the world? No. But I think this year, when you're talking about grades and such, it struggled because of where he is. But you look at, especially early on in Chicago, he was a good pass blocker, and he was very good in the run game as well. So, one might even make the argument run blocking is his strength. So, I think this is a guy with Wynn potentially being out, and then Connor Williams potentially having a nagging groin issue. This guy gives you a lot of flexibility. If Connor's in, you can stick him at left guard. If Connor's out, stick him at center, stick Robert Jones at left guard. And, notice I didn't say Eichenberg. You know what I mean?
and I don't think it has to be a splash move to be a good move.
It doesn't.
Right?
No.
We have a star-studded roster. We need to supplement this with affordable guys that provide value, that can have, like what you just said, versatility to play multiple spots. Like, we need more of that on this team. I think that's for anyone thinking we're going to go crazy in free agency after this year, I think we're going to look for people that are versatile, that can do multiple things and do them well. So I think Cody Whitehair, it would be a really good add to this team. He would definitely, with Isaiah Wynn likely being done for the year, I think that's a plug and play left guard that you could put in and feel comfortable about.
Yeah. And then, brother, you're number 2 here. You're going wide receiver, adding to the corpse with the injuries piling up, because Waddle, he looks like he's not the same, and we know he's had the shoulder stuff, now the back stuff. It's piling up for him. So you said go get the Alabama boy.
And dude, you're nailing what I was thinking. I think this is an ultimate insurance policy for any of the top players on our passing game that go away, right? Like, we have Tyreek with a hip ailment. We have Jalen Waddle battling pretty much everything in the world this year. We have Chase Claypool trying to get acclimated to the team. Barrios is battling the middle knee. River, Craycraft, and Eric Uzakama. Everybody who catches balls here is dealing with something. Well, why not bring a guy in who's not going to cost you a lot? This is a total rental. It's a total rental. But who can help him get back on track for a bigger contract than his old buddy Tua Tagovailoa, right? Like, that's, for me, I actually think it's crazy, because people will be like, that's crazy. The last thing we need is a wide receiver. Sometimes it's not always about what you need. Sometimes it's about making such a strength that it's unguardable. And you can't tell me right now, as much as I love anybody outside of Waddle and Tua, I love this receiving core as a whole. You can't tell me if Jerry Jeudy's the number 3 option on this football team, that doesn't get you excited,
Yeah, and you're good enough to let him get healthy a little bit too, and let him get ready, right? And let him
really
unleash. That would be ridiculous. If you had Jeudy, Waddle, Hill and Claypool and then Berrios. That would be the most like you know how disgusting that is. For me, I'm still sticking with interior. I got mine obviously in order here. I put yours in order too. So Daniel Brunskill here. You know, I mean, familiarity, played in San Francisco. You know, I don't think he's as good as Cody Whitehair. That's why he doesn't make as much money as Cody Whitehair. But again, another guy who can play multiple positions across the offensive line for you. Scheme familiarity. You know, I like it, but I'm going to tell you this much. I'd take Whitehair, and the next guy I'm going to name over him, even if I got to cross-train the next guy, which I'll get into. But Daniel Brunskill, I think, is a legitimate cheap option if you're looking to fill in with familiarity that probably won't cost much.
Yeah, I think the Titans are definitely, obviously, going to be one of the biggest sellers there are out there, right? Like that team is like they need a hard reset, a complete reset.
And you got a guy, you got a guy on yours next up that I wanted before they extended him, Tyler Higbee. I mean, I would have loved if they would have added him. I don't know how viable that is after the extension, but man, I mean, like really we're not really getting much from the tight end position, really, other than blocking.
It's probably not that realistic actually after they paid him, unless the Rams season really, unless they don't really believe. But I will say, I do think Tyler Higbee would be an awesome player in our system. I think he does the dirty work well. He's a good pass catcher. I'm a big fan of him, and I don't know when we address it, but this team eventually needs to get better at tight end, right? Like it's been a few years. I mean, Mike Gesicki had that 880-yard season with a few touchdowns, whatever that was. Honestly, we haven't had much for the tight end position in a long time. I personally probably tried to sell Mike Gesicki to myself for a good 3 years. Like they need to find a tight end, man. This is not a knock on Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe has been everything you wanted as a 4th-round pick at a Notre Dame, right? This is about just getting more vertical out of that position. Finding somebody that has a different skill set and can help threaten the seam. That's what it is for me. I love Durham Smythe, and I think he's a great lunch pail type player. Get somebody who can complement him, a guy that can go vertical, that doesn't, maybe do things that Durham does so well. But I would love it. I think Higbee's just representation that I would love us to make a move for a good quality tight end. And to be honest, in the NFL right now, man, it's probably the weakest position across the league.
I agree, actually, on that statement. For me, I got Cesar Ruiz. Now, he came out of Michigan as a center. I really loved him. He plays right guard. I think he's athletic enough. I think he's good enough. You could make the shift to left guard. I don't think you'd have much of an issue with him there. And that's what I see. I see a couple options here. I think you could shift him to left guard, and he could play there. Again, he could fill in with Connor if it's nagging as well. Also, he gives you an option if you can't extend one of the two between Connor and Robert Hunt. You can maybe get something done with Cesar Ruiz, young guy, 24, fill in there. Loved him coming out of Michigan. So, I think that's again, sticking with that interior. And this is I look at Ruiz as, sure, you'd have to cross-train him back to left guard, but I don't think that'd be a problem. But I look at this as a multiple solution. He's a solution now at left guard or filling in at center, or he could be a solution beyond this year at center, right guard, or left guard by extending him. So, and if you miss out on Connor or keeping Robert Hunt. So, because, Robert Hunt was only allowed 3 pressures so far this season. He's playing at that all-pro level.
Awesome.
I've warned this team, you got to get out of ahead the curve on, and he's going to get paid. The way Jackson and Hunt are playing, my friend, they are going to get paid, sir.
Well,
so Cesar Ruiz would be someone that I'd try and sneak in there. Anyways, go ahead, sir.
No, I'm with you, man. Look, you talk about, for the crowd that said that Derek Carr was better than Tua Tagovailoa, watch what trading for a guy like Derek Carr can do to your franchise, because the Saints, I don't know if their fans have expectations, but if they do, talk to me and I'll talk you out of it real quickly, because they do not look good. Derek Carr looks miserable. I think Taysom Hill,
you know why I picked Cesar Ruiz, Neal? Sorry, I had to add this. Sorry, brother.
No,
he's actually, if you look at Andres Pete or anyone on the line, he's their biggest cap savings right now, and they're like $84 million over the cap next year. His new contract's about to kick in. So you
Right.
save that $5 million this year, and it takes $10 million off their cap for next year. That's an eighth
That's
of their
huge.
cap hole. So I'm like, okay, and $10.5 million next year, Neal, for his quality of player. That's very, very reasonable for the things he can provide you on the offensive line, too. I don't think, that's going to be around what Robert Hunt asked for, I think. I think Connor Williams is going to cost a little bit more than that, potentially.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this way more as time goes on, but I am way on board of keeping Connor and Robert Hunt over Christian Wilkins. That is intensified greatly for me the last couple weeks. But my next guy is Ezra Cleveland, and I don't love Ezra Cleveland as a football player. I think he's a probably mid to below average left guard. I put him on the list just because I know Chris Greer loved him. He had a top 30 visit with us. I think he had a private workout with us when he was coming out. He looks like a guy, when you talk about versatility, even though I think he would struggle at the position in the NFL. He played on some left tackle at Boise State. I do wonder what the plan is at left guard. I know you're in the same boat. Like, Isaiah Wynn was playing good football. It cannot be Liam Eichenberg out there, man. It cannot be Liam
Robert
Eichenberg.
Jones.
It's got to be Robert Jones. But you know what? I think what we're doing this exercise is to help alarm people of other names that are out there. Because if I see a Liam Eichenberg out there, honestly, at left guard, every time Tua drops back, man, I am going to be biting my nails. I can't stand watching Liam Eichenberg in that lineup anymore, and I know that's harsh.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Ezra Cleveland was okay coming out of Boise State. I think he's kind of like a little underachieved in Minnesota. Here's my dream one. I don't know how realistic it is because his cap hit. I mean, they saved $13.5 million with a post June 1st trade. But they'd have to eat some of this money because his cap is like $26 million. But my dream trade would be, you really want to make that push. You really want to get that disruptor that's really going to change it for this defense. Man, Aaron Donald, that's my dream here. That's probably the one unrealistic guy I have on this list, I think.
Trading for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey was considered unrealistic at a time too.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about more of it from a money standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna make that? You'd have to make them eat a bunch of money this year alone. So, but if you could add
a new deal, though,
yeah,
a new deal.
I mean,
give them a new deal. Because I'll say this: would you do this trade right now? Because I would. The answer for me is yes. Aaron Donald, Christian Wilkins, and a third in 2025.
Yeah.
Yep, me too. So yeah. And then somehow Jalen Ramsey isn't the best player in your defense overnight. Aaron Donald, to me, we saw the UFC interaction with him and Mike McDaniel. I think that would be a really cool thing. I don't think it's as big of a pipe dream at all. I think
he would fix a lot of the problems we have with our pass rush coming from the interior. Aaron Donald would fix that instantaneously, right?
Yeah, I think that honestly, the guy Puka Nacua literally might have saved the Rams season, where when Cooper Kupp was out to start the season and Puka was playing at that level, and now they have both. I think the Rams view themselves as a playoff team, and they're probably not going to be sellers at the deadline, where if they had the projection that a lot of people had with them coming off to this slow start and being a really bad football team, I do think that it'd make a lot of sense for them to trade Aaron Donald, especially. We never know when Matt Stafford's going to kind of call it quits. I think it could come anytime right after the season. So if they have an inkling of that, because Stafford's a pro and probably would let them know that that was his plan, and they weren't heading anywhere, I think they would unload Aaron Donald. Unfortunately, the NFC is weak, and the Rams probably have a really good shot at being in the postseason. Yeah, so I think that's the only thing that makes it unrealistic. I think cap logistics and stuff like that, man, they figure a way to make these deals work. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You just said the Saints are 82 million under. They were 70 million under last year. All they did is push it down the road a couple years, It's unique.
So your next guy, you got an edge rusher coming off next.
Yeah, Montez Sweat, and this is more because I one of the things I've heard from someone I talked to is that the Dolphins were one of the teams that was sniffing around Montez Sweat. And honestly, I'll say this: it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He's due big money. We have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb already has big money. Jalen Phillips is going to get big money. What a hell of a comeback game that was for him owning Lane Johnson on Sunday night. And then we have, Andrew Van Ginkel, obviously. I think Montez Sweat's a far better player than Van Ginkel, and he might even be on the same level as Bradley Chubb, but Bradley Chubb's playing well too. So, but this is more of something I heard more than I believe. I'll say this: I heard of the Dolphins and Ravens were two of the teams that were sniffing around Montez Sweat. I guess you can never have too many pass rushers. Might be the theory and way of thinking there. But again, just having conversations and being interested. I could be interested in a Porsche, and I get to the lot. And if it's too expensive, I might walk away, right? So I would say that it's more than likely not going to happen. I thought it was interesting when I heard that, because that tells me the way sometimes these GMs view the roster is a lot different than even any of us will, right? Like, I think about needs first. A lot of times when I do mock drafts, free agency, sometimes these guys just really believe in a player and says, you know what, we'll find a way to make this player work in our system.
Next one up I got is Tua Tagovailoa from the Tennessee Titans. We already established that we expect them to be sellers. You're talking about a guy who a couple years ago had 25 pressures from the nose tackle position, the interior. Listen, he's a decent pass rusher. He's decent against the run. I don't think he's a massive needle mover. I would actually take probably Shy Tuttle, or who I'm going to get into next, or Aaron Donald over him. But I think Tua Tagovailoa does address a need. And to be honest with you, beyond Raekwon Davis, we have like zero depth at this position as well. Like, what is Deshaun Hand and Brandon Pilley really doing for us, right?
Nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So I think, as we get into DT here, I think that's definitely a need on the interior. You got another edge player from the Denver Broncos, Nick Benito. Look at us. We're Broncos reunion in Miami.
Right. Now, and this is for me, a buy low type of thing. A guy that's a situational pass rusher, can put some pressure on the opposing quarterback. This would be more of a replacement for like a Cameron Good than it would be for a Van Ginkel, a Jalen Phillips, or a Bradley Chubb. He's just a guy that's pretty inexpensive, but does have some value as a pass rusher. Probably cost you a 6th round pick to get a guy like Nick Bonito. So this isn't a big splash at all, but I think it's a way to supplement your roster. And, I guess at the end of the day, the goal is always to have the best 53 man you can. So even if you're upgrading spots 48, 49, 50, sometimes it's worth it.
And then for me, I got the next one finishing off my interior here. Another target I like. Listen, I would love Derek Brown. I just don't think they're going to pay the assets. It's the same thing. Listen, the reason why you're not seeing Patrick Surtain here, too many reinforcements coming back, the cost is going to be too high. The reason why you're not seeing Devin White for me, wants $20+ million a year, I don't see it, right? The reason why you're not seeing
going to happen.
Yeah, the reason why you're not seeing Bobby Wagner, I've been told the reason why he didn't even entertain us, he doesn't want to come off the West Coast. Reason why I don't have Josie Jewell up here is because you'll see I got other options here I like better. But when we're talking about, right now, Shy Tuttle, sure, I want Derek Brown, but he kind of falls under the Patrick Surtain thing, and the Devin White. I just think the cost is going to be too high. Derek Brown's going to want to be repaid, et cetera, et cetera. So the next best thing for me there, I like Shy Tuttle. I like what he offers. I even liked him, when he's coming out of Tennessee a little bit there. So I thought he was decent in New Orleans. He's a guy who, again, he kind of like what, he moves a little bit more than a Nick Benito, but again, he's not a massive needle mover, but this supplements you into a rotation of Raekwon Davis and Shy Tuttle. And you got some guys that can make some plays there. And you got some much needed depth that just does not exist right now behind Raekwon Davis with adding a guy like Shy Tuttle. So we're getting into linebacker for you. You got Josie Jewell.
You're going to see a lot of
linebackers.
But before we move to Josie Jewell, question, put you on the spot. If you're paying a guy today, who would you rather pay, Christian Wilkins or Derek Brown?
Derek Brown, because he's not going to cost as much.
Yeah, I think I think Wilkins. I think Wilkins is a little bit better of an overall player, but I agree. Brown,
but the money, money talks, baby.
I think it's $6 million cheaper. I'd say $6 million cheaper probably for Derek Brown.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josie Jewell, obviously, came out of Iowa. I'm a big fan of. I like Wisconsin offensive linemen, Michigan offensive line. I love Iowa linebackers. When I watch the draft, Alabama receivers. I pick my niches. Josie Jewell was a hell of a player. I knew that was going to be a really good pick for Denver. Obviously, he has familiarity with Vic Fangio. He's a guy that probably won't cost you a ton. The Denver Broncos are probably the league's biggest with what Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I think they are the biggest sellers, and I think it's I think for we've seen it. Surtain's available for the right price. Justin Simmons the right price. Look, I think they're going to be drafting Caleb Williams or Drake May come April. So this is going to be a hard reset. Anyone's available. You're going to see by my next three players. I think David Long is playing really good football. I know Jerome Baker had that interception fall in his hand, and he had to make the play and run for a touchdown. But, man, he's still getting washed. And he's missing tackles in the open field. And I need somebody on this team that's at least going to push that spot.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Josie Jewell. He would have been like probably my fifth option as I get into my linebackers here. So someone asked about Quinn Miners in the chat. Quinn Miners is a true right guard. He tried cross training at center a little bit, but he's a true right guard. We need a guy who can play left guard, center, and if you can play right guard as well, it's fantastic. So first for me on linebacker is Levante David. Listen, again, Tampa Bay, they kind of fall into the same bracket as the Rams, a team that could sneak into the playoffs because it's so weak in the NFC right now. But I would be hitting up Levante and saying, hey, listen, we tried to get him a few times already in free agency. Here's your chance. You want to come man the interior of our linebacking core. We got a better chance of winning a Super Bowl than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do anytime soon. That would be my pitch to Levante David.
And it's cheap to pay some movers to do so. You're not going too far from Tampa to Miami, right? Like you don't have to uproot your family or anything like that. It's an easy move, logistically to make as well. Look, Levante David. If the Dolphins come through my ticker trade for Levante David, to me, that's like an A+ type move. Levante David's a brilliant football player, still playing good football, would be the best linebacker on this team by leaps and bounds. If they could get their hands on him, absolutely. And, you're going to see a theme between us here, sticking with linebackers. Texas linebacker now on the Vikings, Jordan Hicks, made his name in Philadelphia. Versatile guy, great.
Ain't no way Flores is trading one of his guys to Miami.
Yeah, that's true. And we found out, from our boy Kyle Van Noy this week that Brian Flores is even more of an idiot than we thought he was, right? But Jordan Hicks is a guy that I always liked, and I always liked him because he has good ball skills. He makes plays on the football. I like that from my linebacker. Good punching the ball loose, good in coverage. I think Jordan Hicks is a guy that wouldn't break the bank either. Just a good quality player that I think upgrades the overall. Because I think one thing that, I want to make clear is this isn't like, we're benching David Long or Jerome Baker all the time. This sometimes is it's good to have three good linebackers, Like it's a long game. Those guys take a beating. You saw when David Long and Javon Holland, I know that everyone we have on this list is an upgrade to Duke Riley, right?
Yeah,
like that's for me where I'm looking at this is, this guy might not be a bona fide starter, but he's a guy that
I'd say everyone on my list is an upgrade over Jerome Baker, and I'll stand by that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice to Jerome, man.
I'm just being realistic. Hey, nice is out the window when we're trying to facts over feelings, and I'm worried about championships, baby. That's
his cap hit. Because I just did his exercise where I created my own Excel sheet, and I kind of went through all the different, if they cut him after June 1st versus this, and over the next few years, and in 2 years, the Dolphins, if he's still on this roster, will pay Jerome Baker $14.9 million a year, man. To me, that is insane.
No way happening.
It won't happen though.
All right, let's get into give me Whitehair, Brunskill, or Cesar Ruiz. Give me one of those three. And this is the guy I would be absolutely pounding the table for because I can't get my boy Bobby Okereke because he just got signed in New York, and I don't think they're trading him 9 months after signing him. But Zaire Franklin right now, okay, his cap hit for 2023 is $3 million. His cap hit for 2024 is $3.339 million.
Wow.
Give me Zaire Franklin all day, every day. This guy is the epitome of what you want from your Mike. This guy's a stud. Let me hit you with this. How many tackles do you think he already has?
I know
games.
he's out. He's been out playing Shaq Leonard there for a while.
Yeah, for a couple
right?
of years. It's not just this year. How many
Right, I
tackles do you
know.
think he has right now? Take a guess. 8 games in.
94.
88 tackles.
All right.
This guy's averaging 11 tackles a game right now. And last year, he had 167 tackles.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Okay. And he had 3 sacks last year as well. He already has 1.5 sacks this year, and he had 3 forced fumbles last year. The guy's a beast, man. The guy is a legitimate beast. Give me Zaire Franklin. They are selling. They're not going to sell Shaq Leonard. They're not going to sell DeForest Buckner. Give me Zaire Franklin. Put 3 asterisks, put 4 stars. No one's talking about this guy. I've been hinting about him over the last week. I'm the only one that's been talking about trade for this guy, and I'll stand by it. Trade for Zaire Franklin. This guy is a difference maker. And to me, I'm going to say it. And I don't even want to use the word poor man because that's not fair to him. Everyone wanted Roquan Smith last year. This is your Roquan Smith at the deadline. This is what Zaire Franklin is. You got a guy who can get you 170 tackles all day, baby. Zaire Franklin.
Yeah, so Zaire's a hell of a player, and we're sticking with the lean. This is not a household name, but when I watch the Dolphins this year, man, the one thing that's disappointing me on the defense is their run defense isn't what it was last year. And we kind of just talked about Jerome Baker. There might not be a softer linebacker in football sometimes against the run than him. Malik Harris played his college ball at Ohio State. He's a 2-down player for the Ravens. He's nothing but a downhill thumper. He never will be on the field in 3rd down, but he is hella good against the run. I mean, he is a sound tackler, good technique, well coached, 2-down player, but he is an enforcer against the run. The Ravens have had him, and he was part of their starting plans, but then they made a brilliant trade for the aforementioned Roquan Smith. So he's kind of the odd man out, but he was a starter before the Ravens had him. And he could be a guy who's a really buy low player, and you might even be able to trade maybe this excess cornerback depth we've starting to run into with everyone coming back and do a player for player swap with somebody maybe like a Perry Nickerson or something like that. So that was my thinking with him.
Next for me is Jordan Brooks. I mean, a couple years ago, he was basically looked like he was going to become the centerpiece for the defense over there in Seattle. 6'2", 240. He's only 26 years old, man.
Utah, right? He went to Utah?
He went to Texas Tech. Last year, he had 161 tackles. The year before that, he had 184.
Wow. And he's a pending free agent. He's a guy I got on my free agent watch list.
Yeah, he's coming up. So he would either be a rental, therefore you try not to pay very much, or he's a guy you move off of Baker, and he's the guy you basically give Baker's money to.
I love it, man, I don't know how much
I'm a fan.
I don't know how much you've dug in. This is the worst linebacker draft, dude, I think I've ever seen in the NFL draft coming up.
It's not that great.
It's Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter from Clemson that are the two guys that get a lot of pub, and they're both
even Jeremiah Trotter is like, oh yeah, I'm not feeling the way I was feeling about like my boy Leo Chanel and Nick Bolton and those guys. I'm not feeling that out of this draft right now.
Nah, he's a fine player. He gets a lot of name recognition because of NFL bloodlines. Obviously, his dad was a beast. But I think, dude, Jordan Brooks makes a lot of sense because the Dolphins are very good at doing this. They make trades that they help them today, but they also help them tomorrow, right? I think that's a very foresighted, trade opportunity to get a guy like Jordan Brooks. The only problem there, again, is Seattle's a team that's winning. But, if they don't plan on paying him, God, I think that would be a gold. I mean, and if anyone we have on this list, to be honest, if I'm thinking about this long term, Jordan Brooks might just be the best name over on that list because he makes you better today, and he's a guy that can stick around for a few years. My last guy is safety Eddie Jackson. He's another Alabama guy. Eddie Jackson is a is born to play in a Vic Fangio scheme in the back half, would complement Javon Holland brilliantly. Like Deshaun Elliott has earned the starting role in my opinion, but at the deadline you look to upgrade, and as good as Elliott's been, I think Eddie Jackson's a guy who's proven it. God, he gets his hands on a lot of balls. He's a turnover type guy, and I know they had a couple this week, but one thing I want to see personally from this defense is more turnovers. People punching the ball out, people getting their hands on the ball. I think that a good pick, a good fumble, we've seen that change the momentum, and Eddie Jackson's a guy I think that could come in here and pay huge dividends immediately.
Yeah. And then, I mean, hey, he's good. And then you got Eddie Jackson. You want to add another safety because really behind Deshaun Elliott and Javon Holland, what is there right now?
Right. And Verone McKinley, I don't know if I trust him. I'm just being honest. Brandon Jones, like you talk about a guy who just fell off the map here. Vic Fangio clearly doesn't have a role for Brandon Jones on this defense. So,
yeah,
I think, it's one of those things. And is that both of our list there, or do you got one more? I can't even see.
I got one more. I got Frankie Lavu. I got Frankie Lavu from the Carolina Panthers. Another guy who's a cheap cost, great athlete. I think it'd be a perfect fit for Fangio's defense.
Right.
Dolphin fans got familiar with him. He was all over the field against us. But I think Frankie Lavu is another sleeper guy. I'm going to tell you this right now. You take any one of my 4 middle linebackers, I think you've hit a home run. I really do. Any 4 of those guys are a home run. And that's how I truly feel about those linebackers. And Frankie Lavu to me is another guy, low cost, and the Panthers are selling. I see people in the chat, well, Zaire Franklin, his team friendly deal, and he just signed. He's finishing the 2nd year of his 3-year deal. Zaire Franklin only has 1 year left on his deal. Then he's going to have to get paid. And if a team comes around, a team that's rebuilding, like the Colts, and trying to build around Anthony Richardson coming back next year, if some team knocks and says, I'll give you a 3rd right now from Zaire Franklin, do you think they're going to say no? No, they're going to say, thank you. We got DeForest Buckner and Shaq Leonard already. Knock yourself out. That's what's going to. When they drafted Zaire Franklin, did they think they'd be able to get that kind of value back from him potentially? No. So
probably not.
And I'm gonna tell you, the Colts right now, everything's on the table for them, just like the Panthers, because they're especially on the defensive side of the football, when they're looking to bolster their offense as much as they can to protect and build around these quarterbacks. Like, listen, right. I don't think Derek Brown, will get traded. I think they view him as a future piece with Jeremy Chin. But if someone comes around and offers a draft pick that could potentially lead to a wide receiver or another key offensive line piece putting around Bryce Young, what do you think the Carolina Panthers are going to say?
Well, look what the Dolphins did with Laramie Tunsil, right? Case in point, like that, in the history of the NFL, trading your elite left tackle.
And let me say this, because then Shaq Leonard agreed to a 5-year, $98 million deal. What's easier to trade, a 3-year, $10 million contract 2 years into it, or a 5-year, $98 million deal on Shaq Leonard, who has an injury history? Which one do you think is easier to trade right now? And even Neal told y'all, who's out playing who in Indianapolis right now, Neal? And for like 2 years?
If Franklin has,
right?
I mean,
even Bobby Okereke played him in Indianapolis last year. So, right. I mean, let's be real here. That's what
I agree. Well, you look at these 2 lists, the one thing that I take away from it, is the Dolphins need linebacker help, right? Like, that's what I take away from our list.
For sure.
And I'll say this.
That's the most either one of us had of any position, right?
Right. I think the Dolphins will make a trade. I do. And maybe more than one. I think nothing tells me they won't. I think they view this still as the window in the year, and they're looking and scouring the market to see what they can get for a good value. And that doesn't mean they're going to have to make a blockbuster. But again, this Dolphins team is really, really good. Like, I think they have enough of that electricity. I think they need some more of that trench play, some of those meat and potato type players. And I think they'll get it. Here's an interesting question for you, Reason. Do you think there's anyone on the Miami Dolphins roster player-wise, this is a good segue, I'm doing this on purpose, that the Dolphins could potentially trade?
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, people are asking about Ogbah. I think Ogbah is their big trade bait right now. He only played 3 snaps against Philadelphia.
That's crazy.
I think Ogbah, I think with the emergence of Van Ginkel off the edge and what they're trying to do with him, and it just seems like they're stubborn and locked in on bringing him off that edge. I think right now Emmanuel Ogbah is their biggest piece of trade bait, but on the same flip side, they put good reps on film, but the same thing we just made for Shaq Leonard, and Emmanuel Ogbah was less injured. Is anyone going to pony up that money when there's guys around him outplaying him? Right? It's like the same as Shaq Leonard. Anyone going to pony up for a 5-year, $98 million guy when it's been evident guys in that same core have been playing better than him? Same thing with Ogbah. Who's going to pay that money? So I don't see Ogbah as more of a like, you know, a Ogbah in a 7th for like a 6th. Maybe you can get a 5th. Maybe you can pull an arm somewhere. But I don't even know if you get a 5th one right now. I don't think you can. That would probably be the biggest piece trade asset. Now, if all of our running backs were healthy, I'd probably be throwing Jeff Wilson into that fray, or Cedric Wilson with how he's played. If all of our guys were healthy and not banged up, I'd be saying, yo, Cedric Wilson's flashed. Maybe try and dangle him again. But with all of our injuries, can you even dangle him? Emmanuel Ogbah is the only one that makes sense in terms of a lot at the position he's battling at currently now, right? A lot of surplus.
Right, and I think that makes tons of sense. And that's why, like, sometimes where it's like you see Jerry Jeudy on my list, for example, maybe the Dolphins have the ability to move a Cedric Wilson for a late pick and bring in a Jerry Jeudy. Like, it could be a corresponding move to a move. So, like, I would say, you know, I know that when you see these scenarios and people put their list out, it's a never say never. This isn't Madden. We hear those things. Well, if we've learned anything about professional sports and the NFL and the NBA and all these sports is that that was maybe the case a long time ago, but people move and great players play on one jersey one year and go the next, and it's now they move in the prime of their career. It's a different world, and these teams that are going to sell, like there are teams that are fringe teams that are on the fence whether they should sell or not. That might sell because they view the next year's quarterback class as a way to right the ship there. And that's like the Denver Broncos, for example. Like, you know, they have Russell Wilson. They pay, you know, he's a top 10 quarterback earner in the history of this game, but it's not working. Maybe they pivot and say, you know what, we'll sell it off whatever we have to. So like teams like the Titans and the Dolphins trade a lot with teams like the Raiders. They make a lot of moves with teams like that. I think the Raiders are another team that could be sellers here.
I was looking and I didn't see anything I really like that intrigued me, bro. Like, we're not getting Max Crosby. Like, let's be real with ourselves. Like, I didn't see anything that really, like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I looked and I didn't see anything I really liked.
Well, I don't think we need them at this point because I think maybe Josh Jacobs.
Oh, Josh
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to move them. You know, the only other guy that I would say that I really would want from their team besides Max Crosby, who's not getting moved, I would still be interested in Michael Mayer, but they just drafted him. You know, they're not going to get rid of him. Their roster. I actually think the Raiders have the overall worst roster in the league.
Well, it's like I looked at who was it? Who drafted Steve Avila?
The Rams.
That's so I was like, oh man, and I'm like, they're not trading him. Like, even if they sucked right now, they just drafted him because I take Steve Avila in a heartbeat right now. You know what I mean? That guy can play guard and center for us, right? So all right, let's keep it rolling here. I wanted to show this because yesterday word came out, Neal, that Tyreek Hill, he was potentially injured, and then today he was asked about it backstage. Backstage in the locker room, and this was his answer.
Might sideline you for a while. Is there much pain? Do you have an injury, or are you fine for Sunday?
Nah, I just wanted some attention, man, because my mom wouldn't talk to me yesterday, so I needed some attention from somebody. I'm good, though.
Good. And playing Sunday?
Yeah, baby, I'm good, baby.
So you went into the injury tent very briefly during the game, didn't you? Is that true? And what was it for? Can you say?
Nah, I had to show Kyle something enough, so I didn't want the world to see it.
You're looking like yourself out there, though. You're feeling strong, feeling fast.
So, I mean, this guy's just straight
man.
teasing them and not giving. I mean, he knows that 2K is on the line. He ain't missing no time. And I was going to say this, Neal. I think we all had a collective sigh because this is a guy who stayed healthy his whole career, and it'd be like, of course, he gets hurt as a Dolphin. Listen, I said this yesterday. I wasn't as worried or panicking like other people, even if he was going to miss time. I remember what happened in that Cleveland Browns game last year. I remember the 12 different, 9 or 12 different receivers Tua targeted, and Trent Sherfield and Jalen Waddle were your leading receivers. So I remember all that. I know Tua can make it happen without Tyreek. But how relieved are you to hear he's going to go? Because I said, listen, if he takes off against the Patriots, that's fine, because you knew he wasn't missing that Chiefs game.
Yeah, I'll say this, and I'm not exaggerating. I had trouble sleeping last night because of Tyreek Hill's hip. Like dude, it's bad. I woke up 3 times. I had to get up and get water. I was miserable because I had a feeling I was going to wake up today that like this hip needed surgery or something. And here's the reason why. I think Tyreek Hill is such a damn good football player, even if he misses 1 week, knowing that he'll only be here probably for 3 or 4 years in the totality of his career. Watching him 1 week robs us of greatness. This guy is, and I saw people on the timeline like turn on because he dropped a touchdown pass, and I'm like, dude, everyone in this world's perfect, I guess, man, because I don't know how you don't think Tyreek Hill is the best freaking player that's played on this team since Dan Marino and might be even better than freaking Dan Marino. I mean, that, like, I'm being honest when I say that, and I love Dan Marino. I mean, like, Tyreek Hill is unbelievable. He is greatness personified. That Tua dot throw touchdown to him in that game, man. Oh my God, Tyreek Hill is so good. I love him. I'm so glad he's a Dolphin. It doesn't feel real, and I couldn't sleep because I was so worried we were going to get news that Tyreek was down and out. I sighed. I clicked my heels together, and I'm still going to have some celebratory shots tonight because I freaking can't wait to see the cheetah out there on Sunday, man.
This guy's clicking his heels together like he's Wendy. I love it.
And I do need therapy, that's for sure, because I really did not sleep last night because of it, and I've been miserable all day because I kept waking up.
All right, well, let's add to that.
I checked Twitter. I made sure.
Well, let's add to that, needing therapy. What are your thoughts on the fact that Eichenberg is saying, basically indicating he's eyeing that opening right now? He basically indicated that he would like a shot at Isaiah Wynn's spot when Connor Williams comes back. What are your thoughts on this guy? Because now he's got his eyes on left guard. Your thoughts?
That dude should throw the Incredibles costume on and just make Halloween year round and be the dad from the Incredibles and stick out of football. He'd go Disney World and he could be Mr. Incredible and be that guy. This guy should not be starting on this offensive line. The last time we saw him out there, he's rolling into Terran Armstead and putting Armstead down. The only thing that could completely derail this season is the health of Tua Tagovailoa. Left guard is a very important position. He is a liability out there. Liam Eichenberg should not be starting on this football team. Honestly, I hope to God they move on from him after this year. Robert Jones needs to be the starter if the roster is the way it is right now, and it's not even close for me. Even Lester Cotton against the Eagles was so bad, man. Like, he had Liam Eichenberg level tape. You know what I mean? Like, it was that bad when I watched him. Robert Jones should be the starting left guard. I don't think it should be anyone else. I don't know if you agree with me, but I cannot stand seeing Liam Eichenberg out in there as a starter on this team anymore.
Oh no, he's not
at all.
Well, he's not I don't even think he's a backup caliber player in the NFL. You said dress up like Mr. Incredible. How do you look like Mr. Incredible and you don't even play like Mr. Mediocre? You're worse than that. Right. It's unbelievable, bro.
He's got no play strength, man.
None.
Strength.
He's got no anchor, no play strength. It's just. I mean, he's slow. His feet are so slow. He's got T-Rex arms. His awareness, it's gotten better. I've seen him pick up some loopers and stuff. So, I guess it's gotten a bit better. But he's just like, he's so far away from being even a passable lineman, every down lineman, passable.
He is so bad that we just said how bad the Dolphins need a linebacker. That his brother, who plays at Ohio State, the Dolphins are not allowed to draft him because of the name.
Is he a linebacker? He's a linebacker,
yeah,
right?
Tommy Eichenberg. Yeah, he's a good player. Honestly, he's a good player. Because of his relationship with Liam, I can't have him on my team. That's what Liam Eichenberg has done to me.
I wanted to ask you about this. Darrell Bevell, He was asked about like his Tua Tagovailoa's increasing interceptions per pass because he has 6 interceptions already. And he said, you want to make sure you're not making the same mistakes over and over. That's not the case. He said, one thing that's impressed Bevell is how Tua Tagovailoa, how he's playing on time and with his feet. Watch how he's playing. It's impressive, doing it at a very high level. He has elite vision. He sees all the guys on the field. You can tell what most of the guys have done on a particular play after he comes off the field. He said one of the things Tua has done the best at is last year, because it was a new offense, there were a lot of times number one option was open. So opponents see how you do things. You have to make sure you have mastered the whole play and the full progression. He said that's something Tua has really taken to this year and adapted really well. There have been times where the number one is not open and he was able to progress, and it has been pretty seamless. I mean, pretty high praise for a guy who, Brett Favre followed to Minnesota, who had Russell Wilson looked like a completely different quarterback under Darrell Bevell than what he looks right now. I mean, and right there, you got one of the best quarterback-minded coaches in the NFL, Neal, deading another narrative that Tua doesn't read defenses and go through his progressions, because that's one of the things Darrell Bevell said he's doing at a very high level, and even used the words elite vision.
Well, here's my thing, man. As long as he's throwing 2 times as many touchdowns as interceptions, I'm happy. He's at 2.5 right now, right?
Yeah, which is good.
I like playing slot machines. You lose a lot more than you win, right? I don't care if Tua throws picks, as long as that's what they, in the style of us being aggressive and pushing the ball downfield. Like, let's be honest, the pick he threw against Philadelphia, I mean, that was a mugging. Raheem Mostert got mugged. His wallet is still in Philadelphia. They can't find it. Like, it's embarrassing that happened. But, like, I don't care if Tua throws – like, because, again, if perfection's your bar, you're watching the wrong product. Football's not about being perfect. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, if Tua ends the season with 40 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, are we going to say that Tua turns the ball over too much? Like, this offense requires more out of
He's
their
a gunslinger now. Yeah.
Right. Like, exactly. Like, this is – Dan threw a lot of picks.
No one hit – no one – no. Why does no one hold it against Brett Favre for throwing the most interceptions in the NFL history when he retired?
Because Twitter wasn't around and everyone wasn't a miserable son of a bee back then, right? Like, that's probably why, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think like Tua's picks are alarming at all. I think he had, there's pretty spread out. It wasn't, because here's what we see, right? Like, God, man, we see just inconsistent criticism for certain players. Like, if you look at Josh Allen go throw 3 picks in a game, or any other quarterback, Mahomes throws picks, you hear nothing about it. But if Tua throws one, it was literally on the preseason, the scroll on the bottom, Tua threw an interception in a preseason game. Like, it's just crazy to me, man, like how inconsistent coverage is of certain players. Like, nobody is putting Justin Herbert's feet to the fire right now when his feet should be to the fire. That team's loaded and he can't win. And he's going to get another coach fired. Like, I just think it's so crazy, man. But for me, Tua's doing awesome, man. That game against Philadelphia, Tua was one of the best players on the field that game.
Yeah, I agree.
And outplayed Jalen Hurts in a losing effort.
So let me get your thoughts heading into the Patriots game. What do you expect from Belichick and that defense? J.C. Jackson's playing better ball than what he's playing in Los Angeles. They just came off a huge win, a huge upset. What are your thoughts heading into this game, and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a typical Patriots-Dolphins clash, but I think the Dolphins are going to have a little oomph to it because they got a bad taste in their mouth with the Eagles. I think Belichick's going to have a good defensive game plan, and I think they're going to do a lot of the same, but they're going to try to adjust to pick up those throws in the flats, and I think there's going to be chances when they do that they're vulnerable to Tyreek and Waddle. For 3 weeks, I've been calling the Jalen Waddle breakout game. Something is off with Jalen Waddle. Maybe it's injuries, whatever it is. If you need to sit him this game to get him right, sit him. We need him for Kansas City. Like, because he's not making the big plays that we've grown accustomed because of the bar he's set here. But I think this is a Dolphins win. I think they're going to put up 30 points and win this game, probably 30-17, something like that. It will probably be a little, the Patriots, they hang in. I think our defense is going to really build. We're at home. We're 15-2 in our last 17 home games.
Yeah.
Like, let's go put the beat down on them. Let's get 2 7-0 against Bill Belichick. Huge game. And honestly, fans won't agree with me, but this is a bigger game than the Eagles game. It's a conference divisional game.
Is.
It means more every single time. It's not about how good or bad the Patriots are. It's about what that win does. Right now, we're the second seed in the AFC because we have a tiebreaker over Baltimore because we lost to an NFC team and they've lost to 2 AFC teams. That is why we have the tiebreaker. So I think this is a really big game. Whenever we play the Patriots, I get a little nervous. I really do. I don't know
because
why.
it's a divisional rival game. Do you think all the Bills fans probably thought they were going to smoke New England? How'd that work out?
Right. For me, get a win. Don't get anyone else on that IR. Get healthy. And, man, I'm crossing my fingers that this could be a game where we see eased into the game Jalen Ramsey. I'd love to see him just get a couple snaps, man, just to see him move, be out there. I'm interested to see the inactive report. I think it's always something to watch, but I know I've listened to a couple of the things you've done this week. I mean, look, it's hard not to overlook opponents when you have the Chiefs in 2 weeks in Germany. That game, I mean, man, it is so big. If the Dolphins win, when the Dolphins win and they're 6-2, and that game against the Chiefs, that's your AFC Championship preview, in my opinion. Fully healthy Miami Dolphins team for the most part. Isaiah Wynn would be out in that scenario, but I think the Dolphins are going to show that they're the best team in the AFC preview ahead. But, get the W this week so that game matters. You lose this game, and then that's almost a must-win. So take care of business this week. Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins aren't overlooking the Patriots. It's okay. We're fans. It doesn't matter if we do. The Dolphins don't give a crap whether we overlook the Patriots or not. Trust me, after you come off a loss, they've been in the lab, and I think the Dolphins are going to show well at home, and I'm excited. I can't wait for football, man.
Guys, over 425 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Raheem Mostert, Alec Ingold, and we're also back at practice along with Tyreek Hill today. Javon Holland was back at practice. He was just in a red non-contact jersey as he continues to go through concussion protocol, but I think he's going to try and suit up. So, reinforcements are coming, man. Reinforcements are coming. They're coming strong, and they're going to help us out. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. We are just a couple hundred away now from 13,000. We've had a lot of subs over the last week. Appreciate all the support the channel's been getting. We've had a couple hundred over just the last 7 days. It's like 200 or 300 over just the last couple 7 days. So I appreciate all you for supporting the channel. I'm going to be back tomorrow night around 5 o'clock. We're going to get in deep on this preview between the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. And we'll talk about all the latest things and happenings going on. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we gave y'all, more than a plate and a fork and knife. We hope we gave y'all a lot of food for thought with the names that we had on that list, our list today. So appreciate all y'all for tuning in. Listen, I don't think you'll find a more comprehensive list for free agents this team should target than what we provided with you. So enjoy it. Hope y'all appreciate it. Thank y'all. Smash the like button. It takes not even 3 seconds. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We appreciate everyone who's donated, everyone supports. And I will see y'all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern for the preview show. Until next time, you don't know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Take